Okay, so we're going to be looking at the Citadel tool range. Specifically today, we are looking at the superfine detail cutters. We'll be doing some comparisons against, similar things. We'll be doing exactly the same in other videos with the mold line remover, the knife, and the drill. But for today, the superfine detail cutters is where we are. Now, as much as I haven't actually used these yet, but this video is going to be comprehensive in that I've got a decent job to work on, and that is I'm going to be assembling all of the terrain and the 2 kill teams from Kill Team Shadow Vault. So 7 sprues worth of terrain and kind of 5 sprues worth of models. I'm figuring that with the kind of hefty terrain and some of the Necron stuff looks a little bit intricate and that kind of thing, we should learn enough to give a decent view on what we've got. So we'll compare these with its immediate predecessor, which is, these are the fine detail cutters from Citadel, fine, super fine, and yeah, we'll see about that. And we've also got a really cheap pair of nippers. These are from the, if anyone's got any of that sort of get started boxes with any Citadel products and that kind of thing, you will have seen these before. Anyone who's collected any Partwork magazines as well, you'll catch a drift as well. So we've got all of our sprues ready and that kind of thing. There's quite a lot of work to be done to test these out, which is good. First of all, what I'm going to show you is a little test that I have got for new clippers and that kind of thing. And it is really to test the edge of the clippers and how kind of functional it is throughout the entire length of the blade. Okay, so I know that these ones don't pass the test exactly. Now, these are quite old anyway. In fact, the old fine detail cutters, this is actually my second pair. The original pair, they lost the ability to bounce back and reopen. So I bought another pair and they've failed somewhat as well. It's very, very tight. But yeah, my little sort of test to check out how effective they are on the entire length blade. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but what you do is you close the nippers and you shine a light underneath it. And what you shouldn't see any light shining through on the actual blade itself. In fact, there's very little light coming through. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. With the fine detail cutters, there's quite a lot of light getting through, which tells me that these blades, they don't connect exactly. Let's have a look at my old knackered pair, see if they're any better. They are a little better actually, but not great. So let's check the new superfine details. And again, yeah, and there's some light coming through there. It's not the be all and end all, but it just tells me how close the kind of blade edge gets to each other. Okay, so let's start by clipping a few pieces of sprue. Start with some of the bigger stuff. And let's first of all start with the cheapest option. So these are the kind of the cheapest available that I've got. Let's take one of these larger sprue pieces off. So, and I'm going to push right up against the model. So we're going to aim to leave no sprue on the model, as opposed to normally I would leave a slight gap for me to work on with my mold line remover. Let's start here. So there's no clipping noise, which I can hear. Oh, there you go. There is a bit actually. Oh yeah, there's a lot actually. Now that loud clipping noise that you can hear, it's not specifically a good noise. It might sound satisfying, But in reality, what that's telling me is that the blade isn't cutting through the plastic. It's getting to a point where there's enough pressure that it kind of snaps itself. And what that can do, especially on your more detailed stuff, is it can actually pull some of the detail out. Now this is pretty good. Can't feel much there. You can see there's a few little areas where there's a little bit of sprue left on, but yeah, those done a good job. So that's the cheaper option. Let's try again with the fine detail cutters. So the last version. So these ones were £21 most recently. So you could have bought these last week for £21. Obviously been discontinued now, and the new version is 30 RRP. You can get discounts from various retailers. I have an affiliate link with Element Games. You get about 20% discount. That's down in the description. So if you could have a look at that, I would appreciate it. Okay, so let's work on something here. Now this, I can already feel, it's because of the longer handles to be fair, that it's cutting through much better. It's not making such a loud noise, which tells me that more is being cut and less is kind of breaking. I can tell you already, these are pretty uncomfortable. The fine detail cutters, so the last version, they don't feel particularly good in the hand. They are quite slippery as well, so you can feel, you know, as you're using, your hand starts to sort of slip up the handle a bit. It does get uncomfortable after a while. However, it cuts well. There's no denying that. Okay, so that's a piece there. Let's have a look at that. It's done a pretty similar job to its predecessors, to be fair. Left maybe slightly more on the sprue, but certainly not a bad job. That was fine. Okay, so let's try the new kid. Now obviously we have to be fair. Those last two pieces did the job that is intended, and I'm expecting this to do no less, or at the very bare minimum it has to do that. But let's try it out. The first feeling is that it does feel more comfortable. It's more comfortable in the hand. Feels less likely to slip. These are plastic handles as opposed to the metal one from the predecessor. But there is it feels like they are they are slightly rubberized, so they're not just a slippery plastic or anything like that. Let's give them a go. So that's making extremely light work of the sprue, much easier than the other two. However, to be fair, you know, we have to be honest here. Those other clippers that I have been using, I've had them for some time, you know. They were probably sharper when I first started using them, so it would have been easier. But I can tell these, to be fair, are more comfortable. They are cutting through the sprue like butter, to be fair. And there's a single cutting edge on these as opposed to the double edge on the previous ones. Yeah, I can say that so far so good. Okay. Right. Let's take a look at those cuts. So yeah, pretty similar to what we've seen before. Yeah, I can see where it has worked. It's worked very well. It's left almost nothing on there. But there's definitely some work to be done with the mold line remover, which we'll compare against other versions of that soon as well. So yeah, what did we learn from the initial pass of these? Okay, well, first of all, we can discount these. You know, they're practically freebies in the clipper world. This one is good. It does what it needs to do. You know, it'll clip those sprues. It does it quite accurately and all that kind of stuff. And this does the same. Although I would say that it does feel as though it is cutting through those sprue points with a bit more ease than this one did. And that might have something to do with the fact that I think the handle might be slightly longer. Yeah, slightly longer there. It is more comfortable in the hand. So yeah, it's certainly an improvement so far. So what we'll do is we'll get through, we'll build a whole bunch of terrain, a whole bunch of models, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts. So okay, so something I'm noticing is that there does seem to be a closer, if you look at the profiles of the closed blades, it certainly is towards, you know, further down, it certainly is slimmer than its predecessor. I think design wise as well, it does look good. And I can see, in fact, I can see there's quite clearly daylight between the blades there, whereas these seem a lot closer together, which is good for, especially when you are clipping like a little bit further up the blade. So you can do all of your cuts with the very end of the blade and that kind of thing, but for the thicker stuff I tend to go a little bit deeper on there, because that, you know, that does give a more secure cut. So yeah, all in all, you know, things are looking good for this. Let's just get some time with it under our belt so as we know what we're talking about. Okay, so I've just built all of the terrain from the Shadow Vaults box. Here's quite a lot of stuff really. So it's 7 full sprues. And I was going to go ahead and build the kill teams to go with it as well. But to be fair, I think I've learned everything I need to know about these clippers in that time. So as a straight up comparison, and we can forget about these, so we'll compare really like for like and the previous edition to the current. I felt like throughout the process of using these clippers that it was a genuine upgrade to its immediate predecessor. So when I, you know, if I go back and I start to clip with these ones, it feels less comfortable in the hand. It feels like there's a greater effort involved with the actual clipping. Whereas with these ones, it is genuinely just clipping through them like butter, you know, very good stuff. Now, obviously, I know if you've had these for a while, they won't be as sharp as these new ones are, but broadly, they are more comfortable. They obviously are going through that much easier, and yeah, I like them. I think they're a very worthy upgrade. Now, I know that there are other terrific clippers out there. I actually had a pair of clippers a few years ago, which were £2, £3 in a kind of a budget store, and they actually looked quite a lot like these ones, and they were absolutely perfect, really good. I would say that these are certainly as good as them, potentially better, but I know that there are very different ones. In fact, the ones that I wanted to get but I didn't is the Redgrass Games ones. I know that their clippers are very good, so it'll be interesting. Maybe I'll get a set of those in the future and do a comparison on those as well. But broadly, very happy with these. Very happy. It feels like a genuine upgrade to its predecessor. Like I say, comfortable. They're sharp. They are better. So if you look at these ones at the base are wider, but the actual lengthwise they're about the same, but because these are less wide, they can get into the more difficult to reach sprues that much easier, you know. Very, very good. So yeah, overall I'm happy. My next review, I will look at, what should we look at? I'll look at the mold line remover, and I'll be comparing it against its immediate predecessor, and I'll also compare it against these kind of really cheap ones that you can get. They're normally given away with some Games Workshop products and that kind of thing as well. So I'll compare those. In terms of the hobby knife, I'll be comparing that against a very budget hobby knife. This was, you know, £6 on Amazon, but it will also have stiff competition. This is another budget range, which I paid maybe 15 quid for, but this is my go-to. It's very, very good. But I'll do that comparison, and finally I shall do the drill, and I will compare that with, I've got a couple of hobby drills that I've used for years and years, and we'll see how that stacks up as well. But there you go. So that is the superfine detail cutters. I'm very happy with them. They are good. They are very much fit for purpose, and they are a genuine upgrade on the predecessor. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you later.